Welcome, my amazing seminary teachers. Today I'm going to share my Strengthening Your Spiritual Foundation Introduction to Doctrinal Mastery lesson with you. And this will cover a Doctrinal Mastery Mark and Meet, an object lesson I use with foundation. Obviously, we're talking about the foundation of the Salt Lake Temple, and we're talking about doing a Doctrinal Mastery Mark and Meet activity where students meet each other and also get introduced to the actual doctrinal masteries for this semester. I encourage you, day 3, to be reviewing your boundaries every day for the first 2 weeks. It can be a real quick overview, but hopefully you're reviewing, some hand signals to go to the bathroom, what to do with your cell phones, backpacks, things like that, distractions to eliminate some things, just to create a boundary that this place is going to be someplace special, where we learn about the gospel of Jesus Christ, where it's going to be a safe place from name calling and rude comments and things of that nature as well. But it's something that you can't just do day 1 and expect kids to have that locked in for the rest of the semester. They're going to forget it day 2. And so it has to be something that you're reviewing for multiple days of the first 2 weeks, and then occasionally as the semester goes by, especially if you have new students coming into your class. I do this activity where I have students stand on their toes, have everyone get out of their chair, stand on your toes, and do it as a challenge and see who can stand on their toes the longest. And I'll ask one of the big football players, if I can find one in the class, to do a 3-point stand for me. And I'll bring him up front of the class, and I sometimes will like to bring him up and say, okay, let's have you do this, and you stand on your feet and see if you can do this. And, a big football player, and depending on, the position they play and their build, they might be able to do that a little bit. But as they're standing up on their toe, what I'll do is just walk up to them, give them a gentle nudge, and they'll just, fall to balancing themselves on their 2 feet. And then I say, okay, now get down on the 3-point stand, and let's see if I can push you over. And I just gently, I come over and push on their shoulder, and I can't move them, And what's the difference? The difference is the foundation, right? Sturdy foundation. Now, you can go into introduction. This lesson will help you understand how doctrinal mastery can bless your lives and help your foundation, spiritual foundation on Christ. And there's a little video with President Nelson, if you want to watch that, but I'm not going to watch that here. And where he talks about the temple and its foundation and the need for a solid foundation, how that relates to our lives. You got a couple questions here if you want to use them. Why do you think that so much time and resources were devoted to renovating the Salt Lake Temple? How might we compare what was done to the temple to our personal lives? And then we're going to jump into Helaman 5:12. Now, in the PowerPoint, it just says read Helaman 5:12, but I created a study page, and we're going to do the Unpack the Verse activity. With Unpack the Verse activity, and the scripture study page will be in the show notes with the PowerPoint. We're going to unpack this verse and write or explain it in your own words. Pass the paper when you hear the timer and read over what was written and repeat. So here's how it looks. We're going for this right here. This is not the study page, but this is an old one that I used in the past. And so you'll notice different colors and pens and writing style. That's because different students were writing on this. And so the way it works is this. So I'll model this on the board. And so I might let's start with rock. And I might write out here, a rock is strong, a rock is solid, a rock endures, a rock lasts forever, something like that. And just expound it off to the side on a whiteboard. Or we're going to give them 2 minutes the first time to read and underline. After 1 minute, I say, okay, now I want you to find a phrase or a word and explain that phrase and write about it. The devil shall send forth his mighty winds. I might write, this is going to be hard. This is going to be challenging. The devil's going to throw everything he has at you. Just write an explanation or your thoughts or what that phrase means. The first time's 2 minutes, then the next one will be 1 minute. So the timer goes up, pass the paper, just create a rotation. They pass their paper, and then that rotation, when they get a new paper, you find a new phrase. The storm shall beat upon you. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. It's going to beat you up. Life is hard and it's a struggle. It's not meant to be easy. And so they're writing for about 1 minute, and they can, do one phrase or they can do two phrases, but encourage them to keep writing and unpacking this verse for the full 1 minute. At the end of the minute, rotate. Do that for 5 or 6 minutes, 5 or 6 different rotations. The last step, read over what others have written and write a summary in the box below. So they're going to read over all these comments and messages, and they're going to write a summary in the box below. On the study page, it has this summary spot. After they've written in this, they're going to pass it back to their original person, give their original person their paper back, and they're going to read over now what everybody's written, and I'll say, okay, who likes what was written in your box on your paper, and will you share that with the class? Get some different ones that way. So you could use these questions if you like, but I'm gonna pace and move on to this just foundational statement. If we build our spiritual foundation on Jesus Christ, we cannot fail. And now I have this quote by President Nelson. And what I'll do is I'll say, read this by yourself and be ready to share with a teammate a phrase that was meaningful to you. And so they're going to read that quietly by themselves and then share with their neighbor. Reason I'm doing that is so I can get higher engagement. If I say, okay, Sam, will you read this to the whole class? Kids are checking out. They're tuned out. If I say, everybody read it quietly, share with your neighbor, I got 100% engagement. And so that's what I'm looking for, higher engagement. There's a few other slides out here that you could use that I'm not going to use just for the sake of time. But there's this one, Introduction to Doctrinal Mastery. And I didn't have the whole thing, just part of it. It says, one way we build our foundation upon Jesus Christ and his doctrine is through an effort called Doctrinal Mastery. Doctrinal Mastery focuses on 2 outcomes: learn and apply divine principles and master the doctrinal mastery scriptures and the doctrine of the gospel of Jesus Christ that they teach. So I'm going to say, okay, turn to your neighbor. Can you say 1 or 2 of the doctrinal mastery purposes? Right? And they're probably going to struggle. So you go, okay, let's read it again. Okay, read that with your neighbor. All right, can you say it now? Boom. So just a learning technique. We also have this introduction to doctrinal mastery video. And after that, I'm going to introduce the doctrinal masteries with doctrinal mastery mark and meet. This is where they will read the verses together and then mark the key phrase. And somebody put these together to share, and so I'm going to use these. There's others out there. If you find one that you like, it just kind of introduces it, and then it has this little learning technique. I'm not going to spend any time on these today, but they're here for you if you want to use them. And but it's going to basically go like here. Here's the mark and meet technique. They read the verse together, or the verses, and you'll note that I didn't put all of 15 to 20 on here. It was just too long to fit. Here's what I have, is I have the study page, but if they have their paper scriptures and you want them to mark those, go ahead. If a student doesn't have their hard scripture, I use the study page. I like using the study page because I get high engagement that way. I hesitate to bring out the cell phones. I would probably say marking them on their cell phones at the end of class, either this day or another day, and have them go do it at home, because I don't like bringing out cell phones because they're hard to get put away. But that's up to you. So this is the structure for the mark and meet. So this is how the mark and meet works. I'm going to introduce each verse, doctrinal mastery, with a little PowerPoint slide like this. It says Joseph Smith saw 2 personages whose brightness and glory defy all description. Then they read the verse together and they mark the key phrase. Then they ask each other, what is a favorite song or musician? Answer that. And then I have them rotate. I have them high five their teammate and say, you're awesome. Then they rotate, create a rotation in the classroom. And when they get a new partner, they say this phrase, "Hi, my name is Tom. What's yours?" And then, "How's your day been so far?" And so that's just kind of a polite introduction, training them what to say. If you don't have something like this, they'll literally just sit down next to each other and sometimes say nothing. So just training them on those social skills. Go to the next verse. The only true and living church. There's one and true living church. And just introduce this. I'm not spending a lot of time on these because the main thing is mark the verse, read the verse, mark it, and then ask your neighbor a question. So this is the mark and meet. And then again, here's the rotate, introduce yourself. The intention of this is I'll probably get through 6 of the doctrinal masteries this first day. I may get through more and we'll just keep going, but I'm hoping to get through 6 with all that we're covering in this lesson. But the mark and meet is very engaging. As you go down here, there's some other activities, but I won't get to them right here. There's some quotes, but I won't use those this day because it's just too much. But they are awesome. And there's a memorize the scriptures with the help of the app introduction. It's a little video as well. And like I said, if I wanted to bring this out, I would bring this out at the end of class. And this is, you can see, is like an 8 or 9 minute video. And so I'm not going to have time for that. But if you do it, I encourage you to do it at the end of class so that you can get those. Because once you get those cell phones out, they're hard to put away. So anytime I want to introduce something on a cell phone, I'm probably going to do it at the end of class. That's just my personal approach towards cell phones. Well, anyway, thank you very much for joining me. And I hope this was helpful. And I hope something's useful. And, pick and choose what you like. But one thing I want you to know is that you, my friend, are amazing. Have a great day.